difficulty in finding a good lawyer. One of the things we do is make sure that if people are asking for professional legal advice and representation, one of the things we do is accredit specialists. We accredit lawyers who specialise in medical law and clinical negligence, because it is not something that your ordinary jobbing solicitor or even a personal injury solicitor should get involved in. It needs to be someone who really knows their onions. And also, when we vet them, we make sure that they have the ethos of our charity at heart, and they understand about dealing with people who've suffered loss, who've suffered loss of confidence in the health service, and are good at dealing with people. But you won't get lawyers to represent people if there isn't a straightforward claim often at the end of it, if they're not going to actually make money from actually winning a claim. So we concentrate our activities on these areas, such as supporting people through the GMC or the NMC health professional regulation procedures, which are a minefield for ordinary people to understand and actually get their point heard within. Inquests and special inquiries, such as the one here in Stafford. All of it is free. We don't charge anybody for anything for our services. It's completely independent. It's specialist. And again, this notion of having specialist advice is very important. There are general charities and patients groups, etc. around. But we're centred on patient safety and justice, with things going wrong in healthcare. And we've got 25 years experience of helping people through the difficulties of actually getting to the bottom of what happened and getting action and getting put right. But more than anything, it's caring, because we understand what people are going through. Our staff, our helpline volunteers are able to empathise with people. And one of the most common pieces of feedback we get about the value of our service is often it's the first place that people have come to after sometimes numerous phone calls or attempted contacts, that actually understands what people are going through and how they feel when faced with something totally unexpected going wrong, and the kind of response that they're faced with from the health service when that happens all too often. Having said all that and talked us up, we're relatively small. People sometimes think, because we tend to punch above our weight in terms of media coverage and speaking at conferences and that sort of thing, that we're some huge organisation. If you visited our offices, which happen to be in South London, you'd see we're not very plush. We haven't got a lot of people knocking around. We're small. We don't hold ourselves out as being able to help absolutely everybody who needs that help, and neither can we work miracles. Sometimes it's a sad fact that our advice to people has to be sometimes, well, we can't think of another avenue. You have tried everything. We've tried to help you with every course of action we can think of, but we can't get any further. And that's the hardest bit of advice we ever have to give. But sadly, it is sometimes the case that you just have to say goodbye to something. Helpful groups. Now, we worked closely with Cure the NHS, but I have to say, Cure the NHS have needed very little help from us. We've been proud to be associated and to share the same aspirations for putting things right as Cure the NHS. But we also work with a number of groups, sometimes new groups who are trying to set up, or groups that are set up that aren't formal charities or formal organisations and don't want all that bureaucracy, but they want to network with other groups who feel the same way. And I think today is potentially the start of something very good in that way, that people around the country can get in contact with each other, share their experience, rather than reinventing the wheel. I mean, over the years, we've seen various disasters. Everyone's heard about Bristol, the Maidstone, Tunbridge Wells, of course Stafford more recently, Basildon and Thurrock. There was a big case in Leicester with the epilepsy drugs in Leicester. And I can mention many others. But each time, sadly, people have had to reinvent the wheel and say, well, look, how do we get together? How do we empower ourselves to make a difference? So what we'd like to do is, with you, make it easier for people, existing groups or new groups that have to be formed, to actually get themselves organised and to make a difference and to keep in contact with each other. One thing that will help with that is that we facilitate something called a patient safety network. Now, basically this is mainly an electronic community, because You know, we're all having to learn to deal with the electronic digital world. But we will write to people as well, if that's need be, where people simply register with us, and we will keep them up to date with notices, with news, events that are going on. And we're happy to add any of you here today to that network. And then periodically, as well as actually speaking to each other, either directly through your email contacts or through discussion forums, which we have on our website, and it's really easy to register for, you'll also get these news bulletins from us about when something important in the field of patient safety or justice in connection with medical accidents is going on or happening. Meetings, conferences, consultations that are taking place, stuff that's in the media. So I encourage all of you to register for that, and then we can all keep in contact with each other. And we might be able to do more to facilitate future meetings like this in different parts of the country. If people want that,